swarm. And the old queen always goes with the swarm, and the hive that's left behind is already in the process of producing new queens. Several queens will hatch out, and over a period of, I'd say, a week or two, they'll fight each other, and the strongest one usually survives and becomes the new matriarch.
And how long do they live then?
A queen can live up to 5 years, but she's only productive for about 2 years. Whereas a regular worker bee in the summer usually works herself to death in about 6 weeks.
Wow.
The interesting thing is, a queen is produced from the same egg that if left alone would have become a worker bee.
Did you just kill that bee, or did it just...
I did, it was annoying me.
Ava, stay here, sweetie.
No, is it wounded, or did you whack it so hard?
It's done.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
So do honeybees
That's
have
so
stingers?
interesting.
Like, can they...
Yeah. They can sting.
Workers all have a stinger, and on the end of its stinger is a little barb. It's microscopic, but there's a little barb, so that when she stings you, it pulls out. In other words, the stinger stays in your skin, and it pulls out of her abdomen, and she'll die. So she can only sting once. Right there's a stinger. See how it's stuck in my glove?
Wow.
I won't have to read that one. I'll know all about it.
First-hand experience, you know that.
So she die. The stinger is in there.
You want to see?
That's funny.
And that's the venom sac on the end of the stinger, and that'll keep pulsating.
Sorry. Until it runs out.
So if you get stung by a honeybee and the stinger is in your hand or in your foot, the best thing to do is to scratch it out.
You tickled me like this, and I thought you were a bee.
Hello.
But wasps...
But it's really so small. You wonder how that can hurt so much.
Yeah.
It can really hurt depending
It
on where
can.
it's stung. See that little stinger? It
That's
doesn't look like much at all, but boy, it can really hurt.
But wasps can sting more than once.
A wasp can sting repeatedly.
Yeah.
A honeybee's the only one whose stinger comes out. So if you see a stinger in your foot or in your hand or arm, you know it's a honeybee.
What about the bees?
A queen bee,
What about the bees, like the bumblebees?
they can sting repeatedly also.
Oh yeah, you want some carpenter bees?
We
got a boatload of those.
Queen bee does not have a barb on the end of her stinger,
Huh.
so she can sting repeatedly.
Oh.
But she came from the same egg that would have normally been a worker bee. So I just find that just incredible.
So what makes her a queen then?
She becomes a queen because the other worker bees decide they're going to swarm, or the old queen died. At any rate, they decide they need a new queen, and so they go about picking out one-day-old larvae that had just hatched. In other words, the queen lays an egg. It's an egg for 3 days, and then it hatches into a tiny, tiny, tiny little larvae, like a little worm, and it begins to eat, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But a one-day-old larvae, they will select several of them, and they will make the cell larger, and they will begin to feed it royal jelly for its whole larvae life. Whereas a worker bee only gets royal jelly for 1 day. And that queen, because of its diet of royal jelly, that larvae, because of its diet of royal jelly, develops into a queen. And that's still, I think that's just an amazing thing.
That is amazing.
Her characteristics are totally different, but it came from the same egg.
Huh. Now, do people harvest royal jelly?
They do in China.
Okay.
Because you have to operate a queenless hive where you have a lot of young bees that are secreting that royal jelly. It's from a gland in their head, and they can only secrete it for a certain period, for a certain stage in their life when they're young. You've got to go in there with a little jelly spoon and dip it out. It just seems like it would be terribly time-consuming.
And what does it taste like? Does it taste...
It doesn't taste very good.
Yeah, what would you do with it? What do they do with it? Is it a delicacy?
You can buy it in capsules. It's supposed to be like a superfood.
Huh.
It's a superfood for bees, but I'm not sure if it is for humans.
For humans.
Turn you into a queen.
There, we'll have marbles. Yeah.
I don't have shoes on, but you would want to keep your shoes.